Rihanna, and
you
you'll
will-
say you're hot, but don't look like Precious, because then you're ugly.
Okay, and that's crazy. It's great that you brought that up because the chick that plays the role of Precious was in an interview one time, and apparently, you know how the world is just so mean.
No,
People-
USA is mean.
Okay, the USA, people in the USA are mean.
Uh-huh.
You know how people tend to bash big people and say, my God, like, you're so big, how did you let yourself go? And her answer to this was, look, this is my body. I feel like if I want to eat a cheeseburger, I will eat my cheeseburger knowing very well how many calories it's going to pack. And in so doing, you have no say. And I feel like I'm beautiful. When I look in the mirror, I see someone who's beautiful. When I walk around, I believe that I am beautiful. I believe that people see that I am beautiful. What you think of me is irrelevant. And to me, that was great. I felt like she's kind of putting some of us on the map here, because for me, growing up, let me say, society's perception of who I was important to me. I cared a lot about what people thought.
You
Like,
were
it's
young.
it's only.
Makes sense.
I'm just saying, like, you guys are talking about when you were like 13, 14, you guys didn't care.
Yeah.
When I was your guys' age, I cared a lot. Like, that's why I'm saying I relate to people who succumb to the norms or, how do you put it, ideals of society, the purple V. But then at the same time, I've woken up and I've realized that, look, if I'm going to keep chasing these goals, I'm never going to be happy. I'm never going to sit down and finally, like I'm saying, I can relate to people who, go through these things, but I've woken up, I've realized that I can't do this anymore. And I'm going to be wasting a lot of time, a lot of effort, and a lot of emotion, trying to make society happy, because society will be happy for a season until something new comes in.
Yep.
And at the same time, I need to, it's like we hear two different voices. One voice says, be yourself. Love who you are, as you are. And then there's another voice that's saying, but
Don't
then
be
again,
fat.
don't eat that cheeseburger because it's going to make you fat. You're not allowed to drink milkshakes because they're going to make you fat. And it becomes confusing now, especially for our young generations. My younger sister is struggling with this thing now. She is embracing her curves, but at the same time she's like, oh, I need to push, I need to go to the gym, I have to work out, waist training, and she's using so much money, she's wasting money trying to build a body that I believe she can never get, because it's just not in her DNA. It's not built in her DNA for her to have a skinny body, because let's face it, if you look at her mom, you look at her, it's not going to happen. It really isn't going to happen. She's not going to get rid of her thighs. She's not going to get rid of her hips. She could have the tiniest waist. Those hips are not going anywhere. And that's the
I've
one
seen
thing
her
that
sister,
society-
bro. Like,
and
that bum.
You know what I'm saying? And that's one thing that she's
See you on Instagram.
anyway, moving on.
Hey.
Like, so look, I feel like, with confidence and perception, really, it's up to the individual, how you construct your self-esteem. And I can totally relate. Like I said, I totally relate with people who can't deal or can't help but find their identity in society's norms. But
Now I'm going to bash Dumi.
Okay. Come forth.
Because Dumi and I are on the same boat, right? Like,
Yeah.
we have always been comfortable. Like, we were not victimized by our outward appearance. We were just comfortable. If you weren't,
What's your problem?
good for you. But hey, we're just going to carry on the way we are. Anyways, so I want to bash Dumi because, Dumi, you tend to forget that this world does not just consist of people who are like you and I. It has people like Lesego as well. So you can't be like, no, you need to be strong. You need to just ignore it. People can't ignore it like you and I can. You see, you and I were built in that way that we are so unfazed. And I owe it a lot to my upbringing. I was brought up in a... I'm trying to remember that word. What is that word?
English is good.
You know, the English just came and strangled me and then it smacked down. Okay, I'm just going to use a sentence because I've forgotten the word. But I was brought up in a way where everything was about me. For 8 years, I was my mom's only child. And whenever I went to visit my aunts, you know, they used to just make a big hoo-ha around me. Even my cousins were just, oh my
You
gosh.
were the princess.
Yes, I was, the world revolved around me. Yes, you know, the sun rose and shone from my, you know what. So
Yeah.
now going into high school, even though by then at the age of 8, my younger brother came about, but I mean 8 years of the world revolving around me was enough to bring up that confidence. So I used that, carried me for the rest of my life. Because even when I got to high school with my messed up hair, in my head, the world still revolved around me, you know, like, hey, thankfully I had great friends though, like, shout out to Nosipo and Delisha and Gile. They used to wake up extra early in the morning to do their hair and my hair.
That has nothing
Yeah.
to do.
Hey.
Because I didn't care. I woke up with enough time to bath
And go eat.
and go eat.
Okay.
So they'd have to wake up early and do the nest thing. And Nosipo is, because my hair grows up really fast. So when we're nearly done, my hair was long enough for Nosipo to do funky hairstyles. Remember that nest
Yeah.
thing? Yes,
Yeah,
they
I
used to
remember.
do the nest
What nest
thing
thing is
on
this?
me. Girls, like, it looks like a messy hairstyle, but
It's
there's a
like
lot
a
of
nest.
pins. Yes, it looks like a
It's
nest
just
at the back.
basically pinning it all up.
Yeah, making it look like
So
a
it's like
nest,
a lepondo with
Yeah.
pins.
Yeah.
but not really a
Yeah, like
lepondo,
how I
but-
normally do my, like, pin it up. Like this bun could have been like pinned together.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But this is what I feel. This is what I feel. I feel like, yes, some people are born victims, but you need it's your parents' duty to raise you to not be a victim, not necessarily to be a bully, but to not be a victim. If somebody comes to you and says, "Hey, buddy, you're ugly, sharp, feel bad, maybe you don't look good," to them, fine, but now don't go crying, be depressed for 6 weeks about it.
But that's the thing. Depression is called a disease.
Okay, I think.
That's a topic for a different.
Yeah, that's
it's
what
a-
I
for
was gonna
another
say.
day,
That
really.
like we're moving on to
For
deep,
another
deep things. Like, let me say it from somebody who has gone through the motions, somebody who has lived like that, being a victim for a long ass time.
Okay.
It's hard when it's okay. Let me say the way I was brought up. Ne? Where I was brought up is sort of like the typical Japanese or Chinese home. No offense to the Asians, but you are constantly criticized. No one is ever really proud of you. You know, like you've done well, great. You've got 80s. That's
Why was
awesome.
it not
But then why
85?
is it not 85? Why isn't it 100? You know that you can get 100. Why is it not 100? And you are constantly criticized. Now, let me put the grades aside and talk about Image. With Image, I mean, I grew up in a home with two sisters. I had those two to look up to. The one was quiet, she was reserved, she was, you know, the big sister. I think with her, I could not really relate to her because I respected her too much.
Okay.
Because she was my older sister and because she was so quiet and reserved. And then there was the other sister who I was much closer to, and I actually looked up to her. She was the rebel, you know. She was the one who would wear clothes, do
Got a
whatever,
tattoo.
you know, got a tattoo, got a piercing, and it was like, whoa, you know. And for me, growing up in a home like that, my mom would always say, like when I discovered that, oh, you can make up your own style, you can create your own way of dressing up and whatever. I tried that, and my mother would say, no, I don't like the way you're dressed. Please change your clothes. And my friends laugh sometimes when they hear me say this, but this is what happens. I could dress up today, even today. Today she still says it, but right now I'm just like, listen, I feel like this is me and you are you. I'm gonna go outside of the house anyway, looking like this. It's fine, you know. I have enough confidence to tell her to mise now, but before I could not because I valued her opinion so much, and even worse so because she's my mom, and I grew up knowing that mom and dad are right. You cannot fight the system. Don't fight the system because you will lose, hands down. And I've learned that the hard way. So coming from a background like that, moving outside of the house now to little boys in primary school who would laugh at you for being fat, to having to go to the teacher and to tell the teacher, listen, this guy is calling me a fatty, do something, you know. Then the teacher would say, no, back up, be strong. There's nothing that this person can say that would change who you are, you know. And I never understood that. The thing with that is I never understood that. I felt like she didn't care. She was actually defending him to some extent. But then, when I...
This makes me feel like she agreed with the little boy.
She agreed with him. And I felt, and for a while I actually thought that she was defending him.
But now, think about it this way. Had you been taught at home that you need to stand up for yourself,
Things would have been different.
things would have been different,
Yeah.
right? So, you would not have been a victim had you been brought up that way,
Sure,
right?
absolutely.
That's what the point I'm trying to make.
Yeah, but
The
now...
parents need to build up their kids. Yes, criticize them, but you can't.
But
knock
that's
them
what
down
she's saying. She
the whole
wasn't
time.
brought up like that. So now what do we do for people who were not brought up
Exactly.
that way? Because they're already out there. 7
And I
years
think
into
us-
life, they're already that way.
And I mean, I feel like if I was still in that mindset, having met Hlobile like now, where we are right now, it would have been difficult to accept myself now. I would probably start cloning her, trying to look like her, trying to be like her, because
The mohawk.
she seems like a person who's happy with herself. She's confident. She would be like the epitome of contentment, of happiness, and that's what I aspire to. So then I'd start looking like her.
Mohawking.
You know what I'm saying? If I was still in that,
I'm glad
in
you
that
met me
mindset,
later.
I'd like,
I say this like people need to be brought up a certain way. Like I wasn't brought up that way. The world never revolved around me. This is who I am. But I believe that we need to build strong people. We can't have a nation, a world, a continent of wusses.
I agree with you, but my point is, yes, you're right, but my point is there are those who, it's already late, they are like 10 years into this life. So am I wrong? Because this is what I used to do in primary school. If I caught someone whether verbally abusing or physically abusing someone else, I'd return the favor. So if it was verbal abuse and I was really good at hitting below the belt. So if I found you verbally abusing someone, you best believe you better be perfect. And then physically it was just late because I wasn't really built in the physical attribute of a bully because I grew up really skinny, but I had strength. So it was late for you anyways if I found you. So you're saying now I was wrong for defending the people who couldn't defend themselves.
Yes. I'm saying you should have taught them, helped them learn how to defend themselves.
How?
I don't know.
You know violence doesn't come easy for a lot of people.
Yes.
You
but
know
you don't
verbal
necessarily have to be
altercations. A lot of people can't do verbal altercations because naturally they're just quiet. So they don't do well with confrontations. That's why not everyone can be an advocate in a court.
Yes,
They can
but now-
only be Barry Rue.
You are a naturally quiet person,
Mm-hmm.
but that doesn't mean you have to be soft on the inside. You don't necessarily have to attack the person who's attacking you. What I'm saying is don't let it sink into your soul.
I hear what
To
you're
me.
saying. I think I hear what you're saying. It's kind of like, it's like what we were talking about yesterday with our siblings disrespecting other people in
Oh,
public,
okay.
and then if it happens that there are repercussions to their actions, like dire repercussions, or let me not say dire. Let's say, in the case of your brother,
Mm-hmm.
if your brother insulting a man and then he disciplined him. Let's say he didn't go as far as he did.
Yeah.
He just disciplined him.
Yeah.
And when you went to the police and then told the police that this guy hit my brother. That's
That's
pretty
wrong.
much what you're doing. You're
Oh, okay.
enabling this behavior.
Okay,
In general.
just to catch everyone up on what Lee is referring to. So my younger brother got really, really assaulted. He got a blue eye.
Don't use such words. Don't use
Euphemism.
emotive words. He was hit to a point where he got a blue eye. Don't
Okay.
use assault. Because that changes the way.
Let me fix this. He was a 12-year-old boy who got hit by a much older man, older than my mom, to a point where he got a blue eye and was swollen all over the body. Now what happened, my argument was yes, my younger brother did provoke the man, but as an older man, that man should have understood that this is a child who needs to be disciplined. So a little spanky spank would have been fine. Had he spanked my younger brother, I would have let it go because he deserved it. But to a point where a 12-year-old gets blue eyes and swollen and whatnot, no. I definitely took his behind to the popo.
Okay, I understand that. But now, having done that, that man took it too far. I believe that you should just sit your brother down and be like, you see, this is what happens when you do shit like that.
Oh, I think
Yes,
he knows.
went overboard.
I think
No,
he knows
you
now.
Can't say I think. You can't take that chance to think about it. But yeah.
Anyways, let's get back to
I
perception.
understand that, like, so basically where I'm getting at with what Tumi's saying is that with you defending the defenseless, you are enabling their wussiness. In other words, you're making it okay for them to be a wuss because you're there. But what happens when you're not there? And then they move into society as adults who cannot defend themselves now from these things. And remember, when we become adults, these guys don't have filters. At least as children, you know, they don't want to get into trouble, so they're going to edit a couple of things. But then moving into society as an adult, people are not going to edit their words. And they don't care because they know that you don't have the money to take them to court. So
What time?
All the time. And then they're going to keep coming at you all the time. It's kind of like with these Twitter streets, Brad. You can never be too careful out there. You can't say what you want to say. Well, okay, that's a whole other topic on its own. But basically, the bullying never ends.
True.
For some people.
Okay,
Now-
friend. So as someone who was there, how would you advise someone who is currently where you were at when you were 14?
You know, I think what helped me was spending too much time watching nonsense. And if you are a person who has an open mind, you realize that the things that we watch, once again, I don't mean to dog them, but Vuzu, a lot of the time when you watch things on TV, they're not constructive. They're entertaining, but not constructive.
True.
And as you grow up, you realize that, oh, okay, so Vuzu is nice, it's okay to watch, it's funny, you know, the entertainment is funny.
Dude.
But it's not, what do I walk away with from watching this episode now?
10 over 10.
I just saw Kanimbao was exposed for, let's say Kanimbao was exposed for cheating or whatever. What do I walk away with that? Nothing.
Zilch.
Absolutely nothing. Watching the Kardashians on TV. Kim is fighting with the sisters again. What do I learn from that? That Kim is a spoiled brat, as an adult even, which is embarrassing. What do I do with that in the future? Absolutely nothing. I'm not saying let's watch the Discovery Channel. I'm not saying let's watch the news. I'm saying don't take what you see on television to heart. And one day, hopefully, you will come to the realization. You'll have a moment where you're actually watching. I think my moment came when I was watching The Entertainment. Saturday morning, bright and early, I had absolutely nothing to do with my life. And I was watching The Entertainment, and I realized, you know what? We watch a lot of nonsense. And I changed the channel. And from that day onwards, I won't say that I've never watched The Entertainment, but I've never taken what society deems as normal, what society deems as perfect and okay, appropriate, as Bible. It's no longer my life anymore. And and as you move along, it's hard, but then as you move along, it gets easier for you to just discard these opinions and these notions. And then you just move forward from there. I can't tell you how to find yourself, because I believe I haven't really found myself yet.
Okay.
To me, what helped you at the age of 14 to say, you know what? Forget this.
There's a quote I read. It was in, I forgot the name of the book.
Oh yeah, and read more books.
But we read it in
Watch this TV, read
in
more
LO.
books.
It said to care more, no, to overcome peer pressure, you need to care more about what you think of you than what others think of you. And that, it was like an aha moment. I was like, hey. Well, I was like that, but this was like,
It's what solidified your beliefs.
yeah, put it that way.
Okay, unfortunately, I don't think I have worthy advice for anyone. No, really, because the only reason I was never victimized by what society thought is because I was already narcissistic.
Sure.
So, you know?
Yeah.
And it didn't help that even with my, like, guys, the way I dressed was just funny. Okay, it wasn't ha 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 funny. It was like, but put in some effort, do something.
have just
You
thought
know,
about
it didn't help that it didn't help my narcissism that in that state I still had like guys just swarming
Flocking,
in.
yeah.
You know, like oh my gosh.
Yellow bone.
I think that's another topic for another day. You should have brought this up though. In the perception thing, I think you should have brought that up. This yellow bone, red bone versus yellow bone. So I think we'll do that some other time.
Yeah, anyway.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
So no, I'm not done.
She's not done.
Oh,
And we're not done.
sorry.
Anyways, so I don't think I have, and even with the yellow bone thing, actually, that started from an early age in my life because when I used to hang around a lot with my cousins, and I was the only light person there because everyone was just either dark or just in between, not dark, not light. So they used to make fun of me. You know, they used to tell me my mom picked me up from a trash can. That's why I look different from everyone else. Or I've been adopted. And they had, I don't have direct translation in English for this, but in Tsonga they used to call me Mlunguntima or Mlungwano. Okay, the latter I can translate, like white person of the bushes, you know.
Oh, okay. A bushy white person.
So it was new to me coming into high school, finding out that actually it's the in thing to be light. Because my whole life, you know, I thought, oh my gosh, I'm light, you know, I don't belong here. Am I even black? Are you even my mother? You know?
Topic for another day. Oh,
So no, being yellow bone did not add on to my confidence. Because growing up, I thought it was a bad thing. And my grandma used to call me albino every single day of my life that I was with her.
yeah.
I actually believed I was until I met a real albino. Then I realized that my hair is not really blonde. I dyed blonde. Okay. Final thoughts. What are your final thoughts, Lee?
Confidence is subjective. Spend a lot of more time looking at yourself in the mirror. Make
No,
less-
no.
No.
Okay, leave me alone. Sorry.
Let me
Sorry,
say,
Jerry.
let me say, when you are at a point where you're at your lowest, vanity will help you. Vanity will definitely help you.
I can attest to that.
Okay,
So
I'm-
spend a lot of time looking at yourself in the mirror and make an effort as well. I think what also helps is if you actually consciously decide, listen, I'm going to wear makeup today because I want to look extra.
Is it venacious or is it vanitiness? What is it?
Venacious, I think.
I'm not a venacious person.
You're
by
not
nature.
vain.
This English. I'm not a vain person by nature. The longest amount of time I can spend in front of the mirror is when I'm brushing my teeth.
Okay.
That's the
You're not
longest I can
necessarily
spend.
checking yourself out though. Okay. No, it's cool.
The mirror in my,
That's fine.
unless there's like a random mirror in the room.
Okay.
But anyway,
Yeah.
I feel that society shouldn't dictate who you are. Who you are is who you are. What they think with their vuzunes is
Yes.
none of your business.
Don't let the purple V show you how to live.
Okay, my final thoughts are if you are really uncomfortable with what society says about you to a point where you go all depro when someone throws a remark, how about you do something about it?
Like,
Okay, and this it has to do with pigmentation.
You can follow that
I'm not for bleaching.
What do you mean
But for
something
instance,
about it?
You could
okay,
follow that side.
they got to a point in my life in high school where I gained a lot of weight, and I didn't like being called fat. I wasn't really like boo boo bam fat. It's just that to the people who knew me, I was fat. You know, I moved from a certain size like up there. I didn't like it, so I joined the gym.
Were you okay with being fat when you were not told that you were fat?
No.
Okay, then if you have a problem with the thing that you're being teased about.
That's
then
what
do
I'm
something
saying.
about
If you have a problem to a point where you get all depro when someone points it out, then do something about it.
it. Okay. Okay.
If
bye-bye.
someone like Lee laughs at you for drawing on your eyebrows, grow them.
I believe that is the topic for another day. But yes, please note, I will laugh at you. Thanks.
Grow them.
Okay, thanks. Bye.